Hi, everybody. It's been a while since I've spoken to you live. I've been working on so many different things and been staying busy looking for candidates and working on projects and helping with campaigns. And, some things have been happening that I felt like, yeah, it's time. It's time to start getting back on here and talking to you live and doing some broadcasts and sharing some truth. Tonight, I want to talk a little bit about truth and how truth can be a funny thing when you're not talking about truth with a capital T. There's no truth with a little t, right? It either is or it isn't. But I've been doing a lot of things, like I said, lately, and having some really great successes finding candidates who want to be out there, who want to do the right thing, who want to stand up for our rights and make a difference. These are just everyday people stepping forward to come and help. And that's been super rewarding to have an opportunity to do that. I've been helping out with one of the campaigns over in the city of Westminster for one of the city council candidates. And in the process of doing this, it sure has been a little bit crazy. For those of you who don't know what's going on over there, there were 4 members of the city council, including the mayor, that were recalled by petition in 2020. There was a group of citizens, a bipartisan group of citizens, which is comprised pretty much a third, and a third of Democratic, Republican, and unaffiliated voters, that was funded privately by citizens that were part of that group who had been following things and the agenda in Westminster for quite a while. And there were these horrific water hikes and a failure to provide transparency with regard to finances over water infrastructure and a number of other different things. Anyway, about a year and a half ago, the situation became untenable for many residents of Westminster. People who had lived in their entire life, were in some circumstances thinking they may not be able to continue to live in the city because their water rates were so high. And some families were getting water bills in excess of $800, $1,200. And these are not people that are just running water all day or playing in the water and cleaning the outside of their house 5 times a week with their water. These are people who had not changed their water in usage, their habits, or things like that. Anyway, long story short, there were a lot of changes with regard to the meters and a number of different things that caused a lot of problems. And this group of concerned citizens reached out to 3 of the council members and the mayor and asked them to rectify the issue. And they were basically brushed off. Most of these council members are people who were appointed rather than elected. And anyway, they went through the tedious process of getting enough signatures on petitions in order to warrant a recall. The people being recalled fought it, and attorney bills mounted, and court cases went on and on and on. And when the mayor was finally found to be recalled, he resigned. And that put one of the other people who had been recalled into his position. So she actually resigned her position in order to avoid that recall and move into his position. These were 2 people that were obviously of the same mindset with regard to the water prices and the issues that were going on in the city. And then another person's recall was missed by, I think, 3 signatures. And finally, after many, many court hearings, one of the city councilors, John Voles, was found to have enough signatures to recall. So in response to this, they have launched, John Voles and the Adams County Democratic Party, and I'm sure with the aid and assistance of some of the other people who had been recalled, have launched a full-blown campaign against this citizen group. There have been a lot of negative and horrible things said about them. And the candidate Kathleen Dodaro, who I'm helping over there, is just one candidate who was already going to be running for council in November. But when it came about that a recall election would happen, the citizen group reached out to the candidates and wanted to make sure that somebody was going to be running if the recall happened. And so she reluctantly volunteered and stepped up, not reluctantly because she didn't want to help, but because she knew that this was going to be quite a challenge and she wanted to make sure that she was going to be helping in the right way. But she stepped up and she has gone above and beyond to be a potential candidate if this counselor is recalled, and gone out there and worked to represent the citizens of Westminster wholeheartedly. Anyway, the counselor who is being recalled has come up with this website and this Facebook page called Defend Westminster, and put on this horrific display of argument, this justification as to why he shouldn't be recalled and that he's defending Westminster. I find this odd that he feels like he has to defend Westminster against its own citizens, because that's who's actually doing the recall. And they have been getting money from all kinds of questionable sources, outside sources, and a number of different things to fight against their own citizens, against the citizen group who has supported the recall and initiated it, but also against every single Westminster citizen who signed those petitions and who supports the recall, which were thousands upon thousands of people, again, from all different party affiliations, have signed these recalls and supported this recall. And they far exceeded the number or the percentage of signatures that they needed. So recall signatures are based on the number of people that voted in the last election. And so the number of voters that signed these petitions, again, that came from all party affiliations, that number of people far exceeded what they needed. But there was a lot of controversy and issues with the city manager there throwing out names, and they had to go back and forth. But eventually the court ruled in their favor on this final recall. And in July, they'll be having an election. But in addition to going against their own residents and saying that people need to be defended against their own residents, and instead of admitting to what is going on or choosing to step away from his position, this counselor, John Voles, has decided to take this to the nth degree and cause a recall election to happen. And then after doing that, he has accused these citizens and the one candidate who has stepped up to try to fill the position of costing the city hundreds of thousands of dollars for a recall election. That's an interesting truth, right? That's a truth with a small t, because the reality of it is that if he had recognized that the citizens of Westminster had said that they believed he failed them, and enough people signed for him to leave office, he could walk away from this and not cause the city to have a recall election. The other thing that I find interesting about this is that the chairman of the Adams County Democratic Party, Lori Goldstein, in her efforts to support his case, has put out some newsletters and such. But here's what I want to talk about when I talk about truth with a capital T here. One of the primary arguments that the Democratic Party and John Voles has made against being recalled is that this is a partisan coup to take over the Westminster City Council. And they've even tried to slander Kathleen Dodaro, who is one of the candidates who has stepped forward to be on the recall ballot. And guess what? They couldn't find anything. They couldn't find anything against her. Their primary slander against her was that she was part of the Republican Party. Wow. I didn't realize that being a Republican made someone a subversive lunatic that they're painting her to be. But moreover, the biggest slander that they said about her was that she's associated with me. Little old me, Cynthia Sarmiento. Yeah, isn't that amazing? That's their whole argument against her, is that she's associated with me. And one of their major complaints about me, supposedly, again with a small t, is that I'm an anti-vaxxer. Well, I find that very interesting. I have never in my life been an anti-vaxxer. I have been a person who believes people should have a choice over their medical care and should have medical freedom for themselves and for their children. I find it funny how certain people will take the truth and get rid of the capital T, put a little t, and twist it into something so horrific. I would love to find anybody who can say I'm an anti-vaxxer. Someone whose children has vaccines, someone who has had vaccines themselves. But I have spoken up about the COVID vaccine and said, I think this is questionable. It was rushed. I don't feel like we know enough about it. So I have opposed people being forced to take that vaccine. If you want to take it, take it. If you don't want to take it, take it. That's my belief. If that constitutes me being an anti-vaxxer, I think that's a little bit bizarre. The other thing that they're saying is that this is a supposed takeover by the Republican Party. Again, truth is not negotiable, folks. I am so sorry, John and Lori, but truth is not negotiable. Most of the council members in Westminster were appointed, and there are council members that come out of Emerge. Emerge is a Democratic organization that trains candidates. They're very specific way in which they bring Democratic candidates to the top is by starting off with city council races and small local races and grooming their candidates into higher positions. The other thing that they do is they target vacant positions so that people can be appointed rather than elected, which is what John Bowles was. He was appointed by people who are in that camp and who are on the city council that came through the Emerge program. And by the way, just in case you wanted to know, Emerge is funded by a number of different donors, including publicly funded donors like Planned Parenthood and things like that. So when you're paying taxes into things that go into public funding, you actually are, giving money to the Democratic Party through this organization, like it or not. And that organization has supported this type of thing. So it's interesting. They have actually accused a citizen group who is a third Republican, a third Democrat, and a third unaffiliated of trying to overtake the city council in Westminster. And I'm watching all of this online, and there are registered Democrats who are irate over this. They say, you don't represent me. You don't stand for me. I don't agree with you. I have suffered because of these water rate hikes. You had a chance to represent us. You chose not to represent us. And they are angry. So, this is the game of politics, but it is a sad day when truth is so twisted that it's not even logical anymore. And I've been noticing more and more people visiting my Facebook page. I'm sure, presumably because they want to find out who this evil villain is that's associated with this city council candidate. Well, here I am. Here I am. I'm the evil villain. I am a person who believes that the due process of our political system is a right that everybody in this country has, and that a group of citizens who recalls a member of any governing body because that member has not represented them well has a right to do that. Yeah, that's my evil plot. My evil plot is that representatives, people who are put in a position to represent the community, to represent fellow citizens, to represent the best interest of the district, city, county, state, whatever it is that they represent, should be held accountable. And that when citizen groups step forward to hold them accountable, they should not be attacked, threatened, belittled, criminalized, and other things. That's me. That's my evil villain plan. Apparently, part of my evil villain plan is also to help good citizens who want to actually represent get into office. I know that seems just so odd. I mean, that's just a crazy plan. But I wanted to post this because if you're visiting my page or my website or whatever it might be for the first time to find out about this horrible evil plan that I have in place, I wanted you to hear the truth with a capital T, not the twisted version of it. And I wanted it to come straight out of my mouth, not on a piece of paper distributed and paid for by an organization that is claiming, oh, yeah, wait, what's that organization? The Adams County Democratic Party is paying to support a city council member who has been duly recalled by the citizens. And their main argument against this is that the Republicans are trying to take over the council, even though the group of citizens that signed are of all political affiliations. Let's just use logic, folks. Is it not the organization that has donated thousands of dollars to John Vol's argument against this recall, the ones who are trying to make this a partisan issue, the ones who are trying to protect their partisan stronghold on the council? Yes, it is. You don't have to believe me. Go do the research. Go do the research. Go look at where the money is coming from. Go look at it. Go look at the numbers. All the numbers are posted out there on who's part of the citizen group. Go follow what's going on out there and listen to people and talk to people. You'll see the truth. You don't have to believe me. But I would like to say thank you to Lori Goldstein and thank you to John Voles for the free publicity. I absolutely love when people try to villainize me or whatever it is that they try to do. And what they're actually doing is driving people to my site so that they can learn the truth. They can see the truth and they can understand the truth. And if being a Republican or being someone who believes people should have free choice or being someone who believes that public officials should be accountable to their constituents makes me a villain, then I guess I'll wear the cape. But if you want the truth with a capital T, you can't listen to the hype. You can't just watch my video. You can't just watch their stuff. You have to go and find out the truth. And I urge everybody all the time to find out the truth. Do your research. Look at what's going on out there. Be part of what's happening. Read. Talk to people. Don't just talk to people who agree with you. That's easy. You can always talk to people who agree with you. Talk to people who don't agree with you. You know, I've been talking to people online who are registered Democrats, right? We're not at battle with each other. We don't have to be on the battlefield fighting. They're saying they don't agree and that this doesn't represent them. And they are angry that money maybe they've donated to the Democratic Party is going to support a city councilor who has failed them tremendously. How sad. How sad that they are accusing other people of the very thing that they are doing. And they are hoping that you, the public, are too stupid to see it, too uninformed. They're hoping that you will bite onto some emotionally charged piece of data and run with that, and instead of researching and looking at what happened. Don't do that, folks. Don't let them do that to you. Anyway, it's been great this year doing so many things, and I miss being out there a little bit more online and communicating with people and doing these broadcasts. I've come to the realization it's probably time for me to get started back up. So you know what? I'm going to start to put a schedule out and get some folks on here back from our community to come and talk to you and start sharing and hopefully getting everybody involved in this again. Seems like a good time. Anyway, have a great night. God bless.